everybody. It is college football tailgate conference championship week preview. What a slate of games we got coming up this weekend. We're going to talk about all of them. I'm Dan Watkins, joined as always by the great John McKechnie. I mean, John, I feel like I'm nervous for you with this weekend with the Bama-Georgia rematch. I can't even get the words out of my mouth here. But how are you doing, man? When we last talked on Monday, you seemed a little down. You seemed like you knew the boogeyman was coming, to borrow your phrase. But how are you feeling now, a couple days out? You've had some time to digest and really sink your teeth into this rematch.
I still feel bad. We'll go into the full thing. I tweeted it out yesterday when we did the clip from Monday, and I'm like, what you're listening to is a defeated man, and that's still true as of Thursday afternoon. But come Saturday morning, I'm gonna spin zone my way into believing in the dogs, and then come kickoff, I'm just gonna be a big ball of nerves wherever I may be for that game. I will believe it when I see it when it comes to Kirby Smart beating Alabama. And, we're 2 games past the Saban era between these two teams, and both times Kirby Smart's team has found ways to lose, interesting ways, inventive ways to lose that game to Alabama. So he has an Alabama problem, not just a Saban problem, and it needs to be fixed. It's going to be embarrassing if they biff this one and then lose out on the bye. They could really use it. They're pretty banged up. So this is a tricky situation. But I know that you're also kind of in a nervy state of mind right now as well as a Notre Dame guy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been saying it for a month, like it's coming, and it feels like we're getting closer and closer. We're going to talk about the playoff rankings and all that. Got a lot to talk about here. We are going to do some game breakdowns for you guys coming up with the bigger matchups. We'll kind of quick hit and go through some of the lesser, the less marquee, I guess I'll call them, conference championships that are coming up. We have to talk about those latest playoff committee rankings and some of the comments that were made by the committee chair, Hunter Yurachek, who I'm so confused. I think everybody's confused by some of the logic that he's just throwing out there right now. We're going to talk about, John, who are the angriest fan bases in America right now? Because it feels like you could just say everybody at this point. Like everybody is just agitated and ready to go to war with each other, especially in the comments on various internet and social media platforms. John, I know you got a couple thoughts about signing day, which sneakily happened this week. And that's not getting much attention because, well, the college football calendar is one of the just poorest put together things that we have going on in this sporting world. But we'll talk about that. And then, of course, we will wrap up the show with some best bets and predictions for championship Friday and Saturday. Championship week, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, so let's talk about those latest playoff committee rankings. By now, I'm sure you've seen them. If you're listening to our show, first off, thank you. Hit that subscribe button, College Football Tailgate, wherever you find your shows, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple. We're on all those platforms. Hit that subscribe button. Mean the world to us. Find us on Twitter at CFB Tailgate 25 and at CFB Tailgate on TikTok. So, like I said, if you're listening to us, you probably know what's going on when it comes to these rankings and what happened Tuesday night and how they've jockeyed some of these teams. So basically just a couple of the quick hit thoughts up at the top, John. Texas A&M, they suffered that loss to Texas. They dropped down to 7. They are the last of those one-loss teams in that big group there, excluding BYU, who's still down there at number 11 right now. Ole Miss actually jumps up a spot, which I found kind of interesting, and I'm actually proud of the committee for doing that and not docking them that much. I wonder how much the Charlie Weiss Jr. Decision or him being allowed to remain as offensive coordinator for the playoffs before he heads to LSU, how much that factored in there, if at all. And then we have Alabama jumping Notre Dame, which I don't have a problem with. If you want to say Alabama's been a better team, has a better resume than Notre Dame this season, I mean, that Georgia win, definitely better than anything that Notre Dame has. Then you got BYU sandwiched in between Notre Dame and Miami there, and it's like we're getting closer. It's like Hunter Yurachek still says that they have not stacked Notre Dame and Miami head-to-head yet, which is just wild to think about. And I've seen people are floating out this theory now that basically it's going to be like a Jenga situation where if BYU loses to Texas Tech as 12.5, 13-point underdogs, so likely what's going to happen this weekend. BYU is going to get knocked, and then that's going to put Notre Dame and Miami right next to each other for the first time in these rankings since they have come out at the beginning of November, and that's where head-to-head's finally going to come into play. And let's say Duke somehow pulls off the upset as a 3-point underdog, not that crazy to think about, over Virginia. The ACC might be getting left out completely. And is this committee really going to go into Sunday morning and tell one of their Power 4 conferences, sorry guys, you don't have a seat at the table? Like, it's coming. Notre Dame fans are it's wild to me how, as a collective, I would say a solid, 65 to 70% or, 85 to 90% that use social media are basically just saying, no, week 1 never happened. Like, this game never, it didn't happen. Like, just full on in denial. But, I've had this feeling for a while. I did actually place a small wager on Notre Dame to miss the playoff at 3-1 to help ease my pain Sunday morning that I think is coming. But yeah, I feel it's coming. I think Notre Dame's getting left out. How do you feel?
What's funny is not fans of non-SEC programs love to point out the amount to which SEC people do hypotheticals, and then Notre Dame ND Nation has really glommed onto, well, if they played again right now, Notre Dame would mop the floor with Miami. But it's like, dude, week 1 happened. Like, I'm sorry, it was a close game. Like, Notre Dame has this is just, it sets up so many different camps that you can have. Like, do you value quality wins? Do you value quality losses? Do you value the metrics? Like, everyone has ammo. Everyone has a lot of arrows in their quiver, and they're just firing away because Notre Dame can say they've reeled off 10 straight. They've lost to 2 teams that are playoff caliber. One of them definitely in the terms of A&M. Miami, they beat Notre Dame straight up. They haven't been as good as far as the metrics are concerned, but their losses are much more damning to who they actually are, or at least, if you wanted to build a case against Miami. And then Oklahoma's sitting there, and they're sort of like this weird redheaded stepchild where they have to be in because they've beaten Michigan, they've beaten Alabama, their losses are quality, so you have to put them in, but no one feels like they're overly viable. I did notice some national writer discussion about is there a possibility that OU gets dropped? I don't think so. I think that Bama win saves their entire season, keeps them in, that type of thing. But yeah, we're just sitting here with this guy Juracek who just he really did, Reese Davis went after him, I felt like, and he sidestepped all these questions, but he didn't do them particularly well. It was not a graceful sidestepping. Reese was just point blank. Hayes in the barn for X number of teams that are in the college football playoff. Could their rankings relative to each other flip in light of this weekend where obviously none of those teams are going to be playing? He just didn't respond. He just said, we are going to re-rank everybody 25-1 on Sunday. There's your answer. So the door is wide open for the committee to do whatever the hell they feel like doing. I'm worried for you and my other Notre Dame pals that the hammer is coming on Sunday morning, and Notre Dame ends up being one of the first 2 out.
Yeah, I think Dan Wolken on Yahoo put it best. He basically called it the BYU trapdoor, is what's set up here, where you pull that lever, BYU falls out, you put Notre Dame and Miami next to each other, and then boom, then head-to-head comes into play. But Hunter Juracek, it's like that scene from The Office where Michael Scott is sometimes I start a sentence and I don't know where it's going, and I hope I just find it along the way. Because I don't know how this committee just keeps wheeling this guy out there. I know he's only the interim chair. They have to find someone else before Sunday, because Sunday morning is setting up to be an all-timer of just what did this guy just say? Because I don't know how close you were paying attention to his comments, and it sounds like you were, but his logic for moving Bama past Notre Dame, which, in a vacuum, I don't have a problem with the move. I'm totally fine with the move. The logic was because Alabama was up 17-0 at halftime to Auburn. So did they did they go to bed at 9:30 Saturday night? Did they not watch what just happened? And then he had another one where Vanderbilt, why Vandy didn't move up anymore. Yeah, it's impressive that they beat Mizzou and Tennessee, but well, we just knocked Tennessee out of our rankings, so that win doesn't mean as much anymore. And it's like, okay, but we're going to
leave. Missing a quality loss. A good win is not nearly as good as a quality loss, apparently.
And now, shout out to Vandy, by the way, trying to find a game this weekend. I don't know if you caught that. Like they were
very,
sniffing.
Blue
they won
Mountain
an
State
exhibition.
Finale coded.
I loved that. I thought that was pretty funny. And then what else? He said, yes, Juracek did tell Reese Davis, idle teams can move up or down. So it's all just setting up, as much as Notre Dame fans don't want to believe it, that this is coming on Sunday. I can feel it. I'm nervous about it. I'm already kind of ticked off about it. But, hey, I mean, you got to win the games that are on your schedule, because those games, they did happen.
It's crazy to me. I mean, I suppose it's always going to exist no matter how big or small the playoff is. And someone was drawing a good point yesterday where there just like kind of weren't enough good teams last year in the 12. Mm-hmm. And this year there's like too many good teams. Like there's like 15 teams that I think are legitimately playoff caliber, but you only get 12. And at the end of the day, someone is going to get left out that feels like they probably could have made a better, more viable run than some of the teams that are in the field. But again, the games that are played during the regular season, they have to matter.
Absolutely. Whether they're in August or November, they got to matter, because they are on your schedule. It's what happened. A couple other little interesting things here. Do you think, and this seems to be a pretty hot topic right now too, do you think there's any chance that Alabama, if they are to lose pretty decisively to Georgia, that they could get dropped out? Like, do you think that could potentially happen? I don't think it's the wildest idea. Craziest idea that Alabama could get bumped. Let's say Georgia wins this game and they really strong-arm the Tide and they win this game by, I don't know, so over 2 touchdowns. Let's just say that happens, because we love doing hypotheticals now, right? You look at how Alabama's played the last month. They'll have 3 losses. Could this committee drop them out to get both say Notre Dame and Miami in this, especially if the ACC Doomsday Scenario happens, which is Duke winning, to make sure that all 4 of your Power 4 get teams in there. Notre Dame's in there. Bama has 3 losses. I mean, this would the SEC office would be mobbed and pitchforked, ready to go and take down this committee. But I don't think it's the craziest idea that Alabama could get left out if they play horribly on Saturday afternoon.
I don't think so either, because it would give them 3 losses, and it feels like their Florida State loss doesn't get held up to enough scrutiny, especially relative to how Florida State finished up. You know, like that was by far the high point of their season, and like that doesn't seem to get talked about quite as sometimes in our comments it does, but like otherwise, I feel like that this doesn't get brought up like when Alabama is discussed on these college football rankings shows. And there's also a precedent for penalizing a team that loses in conference championship weekend. You know, in the 4 team just 2 years ago, Georgia was 12-0. They get left out because they lost the SEC championship, but there were fewer seats at the table. When there's 12 teams, it's slightly different, but there is still precedent, I think, for losing the conference championship and having that work against you. I mean, BYU's staring down the barrel of that right now as well.
Oh, absolutely. And it's just like, it's all just setting up for what, as I mentioned, for just an all-timer of a interview Sunday with Reese Davis and that panel and this committee chair, who I don't really think he even knows what he's saying at this point. And I can't wait, because that's going to be must-watch TV Sunday morning, maybe even more so than some of these games on Saturday, is just to see how this guy's going to wiggle out of whatever this committee does. People are going to be pissed off one way or another. Like, you got to accept that if you're the college football playoff committee, but just like have your logic and reasoning tightened and ready to go Sunday, because you're going to need it. If not, like, this whole thing is going to get like scrapped and thrown out and lit on fire, and it's going to be a full off season of just finger pointing. And I mean, hey, it's college football. That's what makes this sport so great.
It's a uniquely weird and flawed system that gives us a lot to talk about every single year, no matter the shape and size of the playoffs. You know, like there's been a movement towards like, oh, the BCS computers, those were old, but like, if we use computers now, it would actually work better.
Right.
Roger Sherman, I think, was making that one, fellow mustachio gentleman. And then, movement for the 4-team. Still, like, there's some holdouts there, and like some people are like, "Oh, we're going to 16 next year," and God, I hope we don't. But yeah, we've sort of lost the plot on the expansion and the idea of like, these students aren't getting paid and therefore should not be playing 15, 16 games. They are getting paid now, so it makes a little bit more sense on the labor end of things. But ultimately, yeah, it's funny how they can spend months and months drawing up this system on how they're going to do the 12-team. Make some adjustments after last year, and then we still are faced with several loopholes that could be exploited here as far as teams getting left out that maybe shouldn't, or teams getting in that maybe shouldn't.
It's like when they drew this whole thing up, it's like basically they left this like 1% chance that like if all the dominoes happened a certain direction, that like a total chaotic mess could happen with this playoff. And it feels like 2025, the way this season has been, all those dominoes have hit perfectly. And now this ACC Doomsday Scenario, if you're not familiar with it, basically what happens is, and I kind of was hinting at it before, Duke beats Virginia to win the ACC title. Duke was not in the rankings at all Tuesday night. They have 5 losses. They're 7-5 going into this game, but they're only a 3.5 point underdog. So it's not that wild of an upset if they were to win. That would have the ACC champion at 8-5, not getting into the playoff, and it would have 2 G5 teams then automatically getting in, because the 5 highest ranked conference champions, no matter what conference they are in, automatically get seats at the table. So you'll have the SEC, Big 10, Big 12 get in, and then you're going to have the American winner, whether that's Tulane or North Texas, and then probably James Madison, I would assume, is that next team that automatically gets a seat at the table. And then this committee would have to tell one of their Power 4 conferences, the ACC, that they're not getting in, or they do what they probably should have done all along and have Miami ranked a little higher, and they put the Canes in, which then drops out a Notre Dame, or maybe maybe Alabama too, with the few seats we have left. But this, I mean, I can't see them telling one of their Power 4 conferences, you're not allowed to come. Like, I can't see that happening.
I mean, like you said, this Duke-Virginia game it's really high stakes. It's unfortunate that it's going on at the same time as the Big Ten championship game, which I think on paper is like the best game of the weekend. Yeah, I mean, it's insanely good. But yeah, I mean, if Duke wins that game, then the ACC is going to be rightly furious, because I do think that 8-5 Duke doesn't get in. Even they were trying to like draw up why Duke is so bad, and they said, well, Duke also lost to UConn. UConn went 9-3. Thank you very much. UConn, put some respect on their name. Skylar Bell, stud. But getting punked by Illinois, I think a more embarrassing loss for this Duke team. And I'm not trying to say that they're good or defend their resume, but there are other things that you can say about them than losing to UConn in stores. That it's not a bad loss.
Fair enough. All I know is that this thing's getting a whole gigantic overhaul over this offseason. I think they were set to reconfigure things after 2025 anyway, heading into the 2026 season. But you can mark it down for sure that this system's going to get dramatically overhauled heading into next season. All right, that's enough of that. We will react to whatever this committee does and the bracket and all that kind of stuff on Monday. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel at College Football Tailgate so you don't miss that show. We will break it all down for you guys next week. But we got a wonderful slate of games coming up on Saturday, starting with the matchup that we've all been waiting for in the Big Ten. Number 2, Indiana. Number 1, Ohio State in Indianapolis, John, the Big Ten championship game. The Buckeyes favored by 4.5, depending on where you're looking. We got a surprisingly high total here at 47.5. I say surprising because, well, this is the number 1 versus number 2 scoring defense in the country. Ohio State, as we mentioned, first team in 50 years to not allow a single opponent in the regular season, a 12-game slate season, whatever you want to call it, to not score more than 17 points. And you got an Indiana defense that's been phenomenal. Only 2 teams have reached 20 points against IU this season, Oregon and Penn State. On offense, you got Indiana, who is top 5 in total yards, 9th in rushing, 2nd in scoring against Ohio State's offense, and their defense that's just the best in the country. And then Ohio State's offense, 24th in yards, 13th in scoring. Both teams are phenomenal at getting off the field on third down. This game, it like on paper, it sets up that like first 1 to 20 is going to win this thing Saturday night. I'm curious how you feel if you're in line with that, because I'm looking at this one and I just like I'm wondering how I respect Indiana. What Coach Sig has done is just it's been phenomenal. They are legit. They are one of the best teams in the country. But I think you just look at these rosters side by side. And one team I feel like is just full-on bulldozer mode, where the other one's been this incredible story, and I do think they're going to go down swinging and fighting. But I just think Ohio State's got too many dudes and too many playmakers, and I think ultimately over 60 minutes, that's going to be the difference here.
I think this game will come down to like something. It's going to be really close late. It's going to be low scoring, like 13 up going into the fourth quarter, something like that. I think Indiana definitely hangs with them. But eventually, like, the toothpaste is going to come out of the tube. Ohio State is just not going to get shut out of having, like, one big splash play, no matter how good the opposing defense is. I think that the sheer amount of talent on that offense, I think it sets up something where they're going to get the kill shot to either Carnell Tate or to Jeremiah Smith, and that's going to be kind of like the final nail. And Indiana, like, I don't love them to score quick in response in that type of situation, like in the fourth quarter. So I'm drawing up a very specific way in which this game is going to flow. If Ohio State gets out to a fast start, Indiana's cooked, I think. But I don't think that that's going to happen. I do think that this is going to be a 4-quarter game where ultimately the Buckeyes come out on top. But I'm confident, if nothing else, that this game ends up delivering the 1 versus 2 billing. I think that this is absolutely like a heavyweight fight. Indiana has just completely laid waste to pretty much everyone. Like the Penn State game, like people gave them, I think, a little bit too much guff for that, because if you look at like the blue chip ratio, like Penn State's still a talented roster. Indiana was able to in hostile environment, big stadium type of thing on the road, able to get it done. So Mendoza is nails. Like he's ready for this. Obviously the performance in Autzen, super impressive as well. So I think Indiana hangs in there, but I can't pick against Ohio State when it comes to who's winning this game.
Yeah, I'm pretty much at that point too, where I think there's a huge gap between Ohio State and everybody else in the country. Now we've seen that be proven wrong in the past, but man, you mentioned the blue chip ratio. I went to 24/7 just to take a look at these rosters, and this is not the end all be all, but I do think it's what's going to eventually tell the story of this game. Ohio State has 67 4- and 5-star players on their roster, which is third best in the country. Indiana has 7.
Yep.
That is 72nd. That is a huge gap. Mendoza has been awesome, but I do feel like this game could swing where we have seen him turn the ball over in some of these games. He had a costly pick against Oregon, had an interception against Penn State, where I don't think Indiana is going to be able to make that up against this team. I think Ohio State's just too good, and if you give them an extra possession, that's going to tell the story of this game. I like Ohio State to win and cover. It's going to be on my card this week.
Okay, I love it. Putting you on the spot here, do you have a favorite Big Ten championship memory?
Favorite Big Ten championship memory? Off the top of my head, no. Because I don't know. I'm just getting like so many like Iowa pancaked memories like in my head, because I heard someone mention like, well, it's good that divisions are gone or something like that, because, we're getting this great matchup in the Big Ten. I'm like, yeah, it is, because we no longer have to sit there with Iowa on our TV on Saturday night in December watching them try to go up against Ohio State or Michigan.
Yeah, just getting ruthlessly out-athleted. So
last year, I guess last year's Big Ten championship game was pretty good, right? The Oregon-Penn State, that was like 45-35 or something like that off the top of my head.
That was good. I was good and sauced up after Georgia had beaten Texas, so
sure.
My recollection a little bit fuzzier from that one. The reason I asked it, I wanted to remember Ohio State versus Wisconsin, I think 2017, there was like a zipper issue on the field where, like, because the turf is like zippered together,
Right.
and it got ripped, I think near the goal line or something, and there was like a 20-minute delay as these like frenzied, on-field technicians are trying to just literally zip the field back together so that the guys could get back to playing.
No, I totally forgot about that. Was there one year, was it the COVID year that Northwestern made it?
Yeah.
And like Justin Fields had a monster game. Was that? I'm trying to like remember. Yeah, okay. Like that's like popping in my head, and then obviously all the Michigan games from the past few years too. Like it is a good thing that we no longer have divisions in the Big Ten. Let's just put it that way.
It's too large. So like, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it sets up. Maybe we were left wanting a little bit with Ohio State's in-season, in-conference tests. But by that same token, we get 1 versus 2 on Saturday night. That's pretty good.
We do. It's going to be excellent. That total I mentioned, 47.5. Does that that jumped out at me? I'm not betting the under just because this there could be some dam breaking plays and stuff like that gets over here. But did that surprise you at all with the two defenses and how good these two defenses are that we have a total in the upper 40s?
I think it tells us that they're confident that at least Ohio State's offense is going to be able to hang points. I don't know what it says necessarily about Indiana. I mean, I don't know how many times we've seen a other than last weekend, like an Ohio State total be at this level, under 50 type of thing. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards the under here. I'm giving credit to Indiana keeping a lid on this Ohio State offense, at least until the end.
Fair enough. And what do the computers say about this one?
The computers love Indiana, actually. They have SP Plus has Ohio State winning by a point, 26-25. FEI, pay attention there because they've been pretty dialed in on these spreads and these results this year. Indiana by 0.1 points, 21.7 to 21.6. So basically a stalemate there. And also FEI has IU as the number 1 team in the country and Ohio State number 2 for whatever that's worth. But the betting handle, love that DraftKings is putting this publicly now, 77% of the money is on Ohio State covering.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm part of that 77%, so I guess I'm PD Public over here trying to figure that out. But anyways, the Big Ten game is the only game of these Power 4 championships that is not a rematch from the regular season. The other 3 are. And let's talk about what's going on in your neck of the woods this weekend. We got Alabama, Georgia, SEC championship, number 9 Bama, number 4 Georgia. The Dogs favored by 2.5 here total, also sitting at 47.5, just like that Big Ten game. It's the rematch from late September that Alabama won by a field goal in Athens. Kirby Smart, we all know the numbers, but I got to run through them, John, so you can cover your ears if you want. But Kirby, 1-7 against the Tide, 0-2 against Kalen DeBoer. Bama, as you mentioned on Monday, I went back and looked just to double-check this, never lost at Mercedes-Benz. That is where this game is being played in Atlanta on Saturday night. I guess the key question is, how much do you take from that first matchup where Alabama did go into Athens, got that quick start up 14-0 in the second quarter, and then were able to kind of hang on to the victory there? Because I'm looking at that, and I'm going, okay, if Georgia can kind of just button some things down and button some things up, actually, and not get off to a slow start here, which they've been much better about doing and starting fast in the second half of this season, I like the Dogs here to take advantage because we've talked about Alabama. To me has just felt like a team that is a little wobbly right now, and pass rushes especially. We saw with Oklahoma. We saw Auburn's pass rush kind of get to them a little bit last week. Georgia's is coming on. Their havoc rate has been much better compared to that first matchup, where I feel like Georgia's got the advantage here, and they, despite that close game against Tech last week, they're trending up while Alabama's trending down, and I just like the way this sets up for Georgia.
Yeah, I think if I were to take off my red and black glasses and look at this objectively but by the numbers and stack it up unit by unit, I would say that Georgia has an advantage here, a slight one, not a big one, but still an advantage. I think that Alabama is so one note on offense, and of course the one note is great. Ty Simpson, good offensive line, pass protection, and obviously great pass catchers as well. I mean, I think that is going to be the story here. Can Georgia heat up Ty Simpson? Because I don't think they can do the type of stuff that Oklahoma did against Alabama, but by that same token, I think with Jam Miller being banged up, I think he was listed as questionable, but getting crutched off like pretty like quickly after that injury. I'm dubious that he's going to be, if he's out there, that he's going to be the Jam Miller that we know. No one else has really stepped up in that backfield. So what I'm trying to drive at is that Georgia's defense, knowing that they're not going to have to worry about the run that much, drop a little bit more into coverage, throw some confusing looks potentially at Ty Simpson. I think that could be a key here. And I think an important thing, taking it a step further, early on in the year, everyone was worried about Georgia's defense, and I think rightfully so. But I think you look at the youth on Georgia's side of the defensive side of the ball and what Glenn Schumann wants to run versus what he was able to run. I think were two different things. But now that these younger guys have gotten a full season worth of experience under them, they can probably throw some more exotic looks, I think, in coverage at Ty Simpson. So pass rush is going to need to get home at least a couple times there. And they just can't get rattled if Bama hits the big plays. They did kind of take it on the chin in the first half in that first meeting. Were able to come back, had a chance to win that one at the end. So it all comes down to what does Georgia's defense, like how much can it limit Alabama, how much can it make it pay for not being able to run the ball, I think to me is the real critical key to this one. That and if Gunnar Stockton turns it over a bunch or looks like he did last week, then we have a totally kind of different story here. But I think he'll be ready to go. I'm willing to forgive last week because the sample of the last half of the season has been pretty spectacular from Stockton.
Yeah, I was just looking through there. Stockton has thrown a pick in each of the last 3 games and 4 out of the last 5. So you can't have that just crushing turnover in this one if you're Georgia. And if they do that, I do like the dogs here. Going back to Alabama, though, in this passing attack, so we've raved about them all season. A lot of people have. It's actually fallen off quite a bit the last 3-4 weeks here. So a couple weeks ago, I feel like when we entered the month of November, Alabama was top 10 in passing. They've dropped to 18th. So Ty Simpson has just not looked right, really, for the better part of the past month. He's had a quarterback rating over 80 just once in the last 5 games. So really that's since late October. And I think that was the LSU game. His rating has gotten worse in 4 straight games, right? He's coming off his worst game of the season against Auburn. His weapons, like Bernard's been a nice story that he's come on here, but where is Ryan Williams, man? He has just completely gone MIA. He's basically just coming in at 4 to 5 catches, around 50 yards. Alabama's going to need him to basically be a game wrecker, I feel like, in this game for them to really take it to Georgia here and get this win. I don't know. I keep going back to, I feel like, the writing's on the wall that Alabama is just, holding onto the rope for dear life right now. And there's so many injuries on both sides of the ball that might be negated, and it might just be whoever can survive 60 minutes here wins this game. But if Alabama, if Georgia can first force a turnover from Simpson early here, I just keep coming back to, I really like Georgia in this matchup. I'm picking them to win. I'm looking at the boogeyman. I am staring him at the face. I do not have the covers pulled over my eyes and over my head as I'm hiding. No, I'm shouting right at the boogeyman. Georgia's winning this game. They're covering by a field goal. And I think we're going to get some points from the dogs there. I don't know if I've talked you into liking your dogs a little more, but I like Georgia a lot in this one.
You make a very compelling case. I want to subscribe to your newsletter about it. I want to believe the numbers.
And one other note too. Georgia did figure something out in that second half against Alabama back in September. Alabama didn't score, right, in the second half, or maybe they kicked a field goal off the top of my head, but Georgia really figured out how to clamp down on them. I wonder if they take that into this game and can ride that here. Another reason why I feel so strongly and convicted about taking Georgia despite the history in this matchup.
One of the big things from the first game was how automatic Alabama was on third down. If that comes down to normal and Alabama's only getting 50% of their third downs, that's a huge improvement, different game entirely because they were like what 13 for 15, something crazy like that on third downs in that game back in September. The computers say SP Plus has Georgia winning by a field goal along with the over. FEI has this one a little bit tighter at Georgia 27, Bama 26. About 70% of the money right now on Georgia covering 2.5. I'm too nervy to make an official prediction, but for the good of the show, I will say that Alabama wins because they get the breaks. They make the right play at the right time, and Georgia makes the wrong play at the wrong time.
You're sticking with that. I respect it. I mean, I respect a good narrative, evil team in your head that's just completely got a stranglehold on you.
Oh, they own me.
Yeah, I respect it. But you do have that one victory in Indianapolis a few years ago. Maybe you'll get another one here this weekend.
Hoping so.
So.
Nightmare scenario for me generally, 4 years ago, Georgia-Bama SEC championship game, and then I'm a Ravens fan. The Ravens played the Steelers that weekend. Both my teams lost. Just a brutal weekend. Same setup this weekend
right.
with Ravens Steelers on Sunday. The bar that I go to play trivia, I love that bar, but it is a combo Bama Steelers bar. I was so ready to go in there on that Sunday and just raise hell, and no, I just stayed away for weeks after that.
Yeah,
couldn't show my face.
I'm surprised you even go in there. I mean, but respect to you once again for.
I need to salt the floors before I walk in. To come in with a smush stick.
Not a bad idea. Light some sage. Get all the bad vibes out of there. Anyway,
you get it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. All right, let's move on. Big 12 championship game sold out, by the way. Saw them tweeting about this. Might be one of the biggest crowds ever at Jerry World, which is awesome. We got BYU taking on Texas Tech, number 11 versus number 4. Tech favored by 12.5 here. We got a rematch of a game from about a month ago, maybe a little over a month ago at this point, where Texas Tech just imposed their will on BYU, I feel like, in that one. 29-7 the final in Lubbock. Texas Tech left a lot of points out there on the field in that one. Credit to BYU for forcing a lot of field goals. I think they forced 5 of them. Texas Tech just stalled out driving the ball into BYU territory, but BYU couldn't get on the board until the fourth quarter in that one. Texas Tech, they bottled up BYU's rushing attack, which if you're going to beat the Cougars, that's what you got to do. LJ Martin, I think he only had 35 yards or something like that in that game. Bachmeier looked like a true freshman there with a few turnovers. Texas Tech, how these teams stack up on paper, number 3 scoring offense, number 4 in total yards, number 9 in passing, number 3 scoring defense, number 1 against the run. They are number 6 in yards allowed against the BYU team that does have the number 22 scoring offense, number 14 scoring defense. But feeling like how I was going into that game in Lubbock, I feel pretty similarly. BYU, nice story, very fundamentally sound team. But if they're not going to be able to run the ball, this is going to get ugly. I think Texas Tech left a lot on the field in that first game. I think they're going to get theirs on Saturday, and it's just a question if BYU can keep up, if Bachmeier can, take care of the football, because one of the keys to BYU's success this season has been that turnover margin, right? I think they're 7th in the country or something like that. The problem is that, BYU is 7th in the country at plus 12 in the turnover margin. Problem for them in this game, Texas Tech is number 5 at plus 13. The talent gap here, I think, is just so vast. Texas Tech is built for this moment. They're playing to get a bye in the college football playoff. You're going to get their A game, and I'm not sure BYU's A game is going to be able to keep up here. So I like the Raiders to roll.
I think that's totally logical. I'm going to kind of talk out of both sides of my mouth here, because I feel like for what Texas Tech has put on the field this year, they're not getting taken seriously enough as a legit contender. I feel like they have this isn't a Texas Tech team that's Michael Crabtreeing their way to every win. They're beating the absolute hell out of the opposing quarterback every single week. We talked about it in the offseason, Romello Height, David Bailey. Those guys are savages. The way that Texas Tech can get after the passer is among the best. So I think that gives them legit juice come playoff time. Obviously for this game as well. So it is going to be really crucial for BYU to be able to run the ball with LJ Martin, take some of the heat off of Bear Bachmeier and slow down that pass rush, because if they're just ears pinned back and BYU's trailing, dropping back all the time, they're in deep trouble. They're in deep water very, very quickly. But by that same token, like that is certainly a potential and maybe even likely outcome. I mean, look at the spread here, like 11 or 12 and a half points. I'm going to give BYU a little bit of their flowers here. I think that they are a good team. I think they're extremely well coached. I think Bachmeier probably learned a lot from that game. I know that they were down early last week against UCF, which I know raised some eyebrows, and people were so ready to drop the fraud on them, everything like that. But I think BYU at least gives them some semblance of a game. Maybe I'm totally wrong, given my characterization of Texas Tech, but I like BYU to hang in here. I don't think that they win, but I think they hang in. I think they lose by 10.
Yeah, I'm also wondering, too, if there's some really good vibes on the BYU side. And I know that's always going to be a scary thing to talk about when you're trying to handicap a game, but Satake just gets that biggest extension. Joey McGuire did, too, by the way. But, they seem to really, both these teams really love their coach. And, I'm wondering if BYU can use that and funnel that into this game. And as you look at this from the first matchup, Texas Tech held BYU under 200 or 200 yards. What was it? But yeah, they held BYU 200 yards below their season average in every other game. Texas Tech, I'm looking at this, right? And then the other thing too, when Baron Morton plays, and he is under center this weekend, Texas Tech has not had a game closer than 22 points when it comes to the margin. And it just so happens that was BYU. But I don't know. I've been wrong about the Cougars before, so BYU fans, if you're watching this clip, you actually should be very happy about it that I'm doubting you again, because it's worked out for you time and time again. It might again on Saturday. It might not. I just think Texas Tech is a different level of team, and I think that plays out here Saturday afternoon in Arlington.
Then one last quick shout out for Texas Tech. They lost their starting running back, Quentin Joyner, right before the season. Mm-hmm. They can still just run the absolute hell out of the ball. Cameron Dickey and Jacoby Williams, that's a nice one, too, that they got going there.
Yeah, they've been awesome. So I'm firmly on Texas Tech. Sounds like you're taking the Cougars to cover.
Yep.
What do the computers say?
The computers, SP Plus has Texas Tech winning by exactly 12 points, and FEI has Texas Tech winning by a touchdown, 26-19. Public pretty split on this one. 56% of the money right now on Texas Tech.
Interesting. So BYU does have a chance to throw a total wrench into the committee's plans on Saturday night, Sunday morning here. If the Cougars win, they get that automatic spot in the playoff. I don't think Texas Tech would drop out. I highly doubt that.
No.
Unless there's a massive injury or something to Morton or something like that going on in this game. But just a straight-up loss, I don't think Texas Tech drops out. That would take another spot away from a Miami or a Notre Dame or something like that, and then that gets into the ACC thing and all that. So BYU can throw a wrench into these plans here. But Texas Tech, like I said, probably playing for that first-round bye as well going into the college football playoff. All right, so we got a bunch more championship games. Let's kind of just quick hit these. John, I do want to talk about the ACC for a minute because I am starting to feel pretty strongly about this game. Duke, Virginia, in Charlotte, Saturday night. The Who's favored by 3.5 here. This is a rematch from a game 3 weeks ago at Duke that Virginia won by 17, more than doubled Duke in yards, and they actually lost the time of possession or the turnover battle in this game. They still were able to do that. Duke's defense smells. I don't know how else to put it. They smell. They're 131st against the pass. They are 114th in yards allowed. Scoring defense is very close to being the 100th in the country. This all sets up for Chandler Morris to have a monster day Saturday night and punch their ticket to the college football playoff. One team is playing to go to the playoff. The other is playing just for chaos.
Yeah.
I'm going to back the team that's playing to go to the playoff here. I like Virginia to win and cover this one Saturday night.
I'm with you, and I think as the show has gone on, the spread has gotten larger.
Is it getting bigger?
Virginia. I think FanDuel's hanging a 4.5.
Oh wow!
Out there in favor of Virginia. I think if there's one way that Duke can do this, I think they need to get in sort of a back and forth. Because I do think that Duke offense is really dangerous. So if that's clicking with Darian Mensah, Cooper Barkate, that group of running backs that's really strong, including a guy named Anderson Castle. Great name. If they're all humming, and you're asking Chandler Morris to match scores, maybe it gets a little bit tricky. But like you said, the ultimate undoing for Duke is how bad that defense is. It can make any offense look good, and Virginia just so happens to actually have a pretty good offense, and Virginia can actually run the ball in a way that they haven't really, I don't know, since like Thomas Jones or something. So I think Virginia gets this done as well. I'm understanding why this spread is getting bigger and bigger by the day.
Yeah, it looks like there's still maybe 1 or 2 3.5s out there, so grab those if you do want to back Virginia on Saturday night. Any of the other games you got thoughts on? I think the American game's fascinating just because both coaches on each side, Tulane and North Texas, have their foot out the door. And I'm wondering how locked in they have each of their teams here. John Summerall going to Florida. The North Texas coach, his name's just escaping me at the moment, is going to Oklahoma State. So it's fascinating here that both these teams are playing to try to get into the playoff, yet their coaches have bigger things ahead for themselves coming up here because they've already taken jobs at other schools. But they are coaching in this game.
Yeah, weird setup there. I think this one's going to be a lot of fun. Like, you definitely have something to look forward to on Friday night with this game. Tulane and North Texas, both of them are ranked. We got North Texas as a slight favorite. I'm riding with the mean green here. I think that offense is just a little bit too explosive, so I think that they're ultimately going to be able to get it done. There's a reason why the total is sitting at 67.5. Expect some points, so it should be pretty fun for those who tune in on Friday. And then the biggest spread, at least for FBS this weekend, is obviously JMU. The spread has gone up from like 20.5 on Sunday. Now it's sitting at like 23.5. The computers like JMU to win by like 21. I think JMU, knowing that there's blood in the water, I guess their coach is almost out as well. I think he's going to go to UCLA. But I do think that JMU, it's kind of in their nature to really go ham, and I think that they're going to beat the crap out of Troy. So even with the inflated spread at 23.5 and the computer saying it's more like a 20-point game, I think JMU makes one final gasp, one final statement for their playoff case.
So I wanted to ask you about the Mountain West game because not that I'm like, so we got Boise State taking on UNLV. This game is in Vegas, and I feel like I've seen a ton of people are backing the Rebs this week. Now, this line's actually moved a little bit. It opened at 4.5. Boise State was favored by. It's down to 3.5 on some spots now. But, like, every time these two schools meet, Boise State just, like, takes the hammer to them. So, like, I'm wondering, like, am I missing something here? Is there an injury that I just, like, I haven't noticed? But, like, I don't know. This feels like this should be Boise's game despite it being in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Boise just owns the Mountain West, generally speaking. But UNLV has been the better team this year, which I think is why we're seeing, some hope, some optimism for the Rebs. I'm pretty sure I had UNLV on my card when they went up to Boise earlier this year, and that did not go well. But I don't think that this is a great iteration of Boise State. I think this is a very good UNLV team. I think Dan Mullen staying probably makes them all feel a little bit better. I like UNLV to cover 4.5.
It's just so weird because Boise put up 56 on them in that first game.
That's got to be like a season high for them. Like they just rampaged them.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah. I mean, both these teams have struggled with Utah State the past couple of weeks. Shout out to the Aggies for being a pesky thorn in the side out there. But I don't know. I think it's interesting how many people it feels like a lot of people are on UNLV this weekend on Friday night. So that's going to be interesting to watch that one play out. All right. So here's what I want to do as we get ready to wrap up this show. We'll get you our best bets and predictions here coming up in a few minutes. We were talking about at the beginning how just like everybody's just angry right now across the country, unless you're a fan of like 3 schools. Like Ohio State is one of them. I feel like those fans, they're not very angry right now. You just beat Michigan.
They're looking for ways to be angry because they're bored.
Exactly. There's other schools that are actually like legit pissed off and like want to like get the pitchforks ready here for Sunday morning if they get left out of the playoff here. So I thought, why don't we do our top 5 angriest fan bases in America right now, John? You want to start us off? What do you got?
I will gladly start us off. I think BYU should be the most upset right now because they are an 11-win team. They're winning in, but it lose and you're out. You make the conference championship game, and yet pretty much everyone wants to be rid of you. Everyone thinks that they don't believe in you, and yeah, I would be pretty salty if I was a BYU fan, a salted caramel crumble cookie salt level. I think Miami should be mad. I think they should be mad at themselves more than anything, of course. But being treated the way that they have by the committee all year, and then like basically being given no hope, and now like we're setting up this final weekend, and I'd also be mad at the freaking conference and for being as stupid as it is, and just a weird setup, weird dynamic there in the ACC. All of that combining for just anger from Miami. We've seen it in the TikTok comments with number 3 Notre Dame fans, because they've done everything they could have since losing those first 2 games. Again, quality opponents, but they are kind of left to the mercy of the committee. It just kind of is what it is. Texas, they're always just going to be mad if things aren't going their way. They're bemoaning having to play Ohio State in the first game of the season. If they're 10-2 right now, it's a different discussion. I get that, but you did lose that one. You did go to overtime with Kentucky. I have no remorse for you guys. And then Georgia Tech, because kind of dovetailing off the Miami thing, 2 weeks ago they had a golden opportunity to punch their ticket to the ACC championship and be a legit playoff team. Totally bowed out. That game against Pitt, you got no one to blame but yourself. You were playing with fire all year, but I think you're very frustrated with how things went relative to where they were 2-3 weeks ago.
All right, yeah, so I got very similar here, but I'm going Miami, number 1. They are the angriest fan base in America right now, and rightfully so, because apparently only for the Hurricanes, head-to-head does not matter. Same record as Notre Dame, beat them this season, it happened, yet ranked behind them, so rightfully pissed off. BYU, I think, is number 2 for angriest fan base. Like, they got to be saying to themselves, what do we have to do to get some respect around here? Going 11-1, they might have a better record or a better resume than a certain SEC team, Ole Miss, that's ahead of them in the rankings right now. Yet they're sitting there on the outside looking in if the playoffs were to start right now as currently constructed. Number 3, I'm going to go Texas for angry. Like you said, they're just kind of always angry, but Texas, you got some, I think a little bit of some substance there behind it. They scheduled up to play Ohio State, right? And that's basically going to keep them out of this playoff because they decided to schedule up and play Ohio State in week 1. They beat 3 teams in the committee's top 14 right now. But then again, you did lose to Florida, so that is going to dock you a little bit. I'm going to go Vanderbilt. Those fans should be pissed off. They're number 4 on my most angry list here. Best year in school history. They got a potential Heisman finalist at quarterback. Signature wins in the SEC this season, yet they're going to be left out in the cold at 10-2. And then number 5, I'm going to go Notre Dame. Like talking to my Irish brethren out there, like just angry right now. Like even though it's kind of your own fault for losing those games, like the majority of Notre Dame fans, I feel like just don't want to admit that week 1 happened. And I think it's just like eating their brain. And I think it's just causing them to go on this just angry rant wherever they are that they don't want to admit that the head-to-head happened, but it did. I hope they get into the playoff, but I won't be shocked if they are left out on Sunday morning. So those are my top 5.
Well, nothing will stop a good Irishman from getting angry, no matter what.
That's true. It just goes with it. It's with the hair. It's what
we got going on.
That's what we got going on. All right. So I know you want to mention signing day quickly here that just happened this week. I guess Notre Dame fans, you can't take this away from this week. Best class in school history. Shout out Marcus Freeman. Here we come. Hopefully it turns to wins on the football field.
Got to feel good about it. You got a lot of good lineages in this recruiting class. It seems like every former NFL player who has a son who's good at football ends up at Notre Dame, at least relative to this class. But I just wanted to take a second and just pour one out for. I mean, it's been like this for a few years now since the transfer portal and NIL, where out of high school recruiting classes don't really matter as much, but the juice that signing day used to have in the middle part of last decade was the best. I miss it. It was like a little Christmas gift in early December every year. You get hijinks, you get moments like Landon Collins committing to Alabama in front of his mom, who's wearing an LSU jersey, and getting really mad at the Army All-American game. Jacob Copeland, his mom is wearing a Bama sweatshirt, Tennessee hat. He commits to Florida. She walks out of the gym. We didn't really have any of that this year. I guess we did have a little bit of drama. I think it might still be ongoing in regards to Chris Henry's son. He was a long-time commit to Ohio State. Seems like he might be waffling. Seems like Oregon might be coming in late with some serious cash to throw his way. And then that is kind of fueling an Ohio State crash out a little bit. Again, they are bored. They have nothing to be mad about, but I think they finished with like number 6, number 7 recruiting class. There are people saying that like this is so inexcusable. So pinnacle champagne problems. But again, I just miss the old signing day where it used to have a little bit more drama, but at least we got a little bit. And I would be remiss to say Jared Curtis, Georgia did lose a 5-star quarterback commit to Vanderbilt. What a world.
That's tough. And, another school that I think is missing the old days is Penn State right now. So I think they're ranked in like the mid-70s or something like that when it comes to recruiting classes. They're behind Harvard right now when it comes like –
They were at like 130 going into yesterday.
They are like, whatever's going on there in State College, they are just like wandering in the wilderness with a blindfold on, trying to figure out what's going on when it comes to their head coach. And then ultimately, like all the trickle-down effects that are coming from that. Penn State, it could be an ugly couple years here for the Nittany Lions, just because it doesn't seem like they know what they're doing right now.
If everyone seems to like have their teeth sharpened looking to anoint the next Nebraska, as in like a team or a program who the game has passed by. And Penn State has really rushed to the top of those rankings. They could really kind of be left behind. People were trying to throw that at OU last year when they had the rough first year in the SEC. People might still be saying that about Tennessee a little bit, but Penn State, the dark ages could be coming. We could be looking at the 1,000-year winter. You fired James Franklin before any of these other big job openings happen. You still don't have a coach. Tough.
Yeah, striking out everywhere they go, seemingly. Like, pretty much anybody that, like, Penn State picks up the phone and calls is getting an extension at their current school. So, I don't know, for coaches around the country, it's actually it is a good thing if Penn State calls you, because you're getting paid one way or another, whether it's by PSU or your current employer. So going to be interesting to watch. I couldn't tell you right now who the next head coach is going to be. I don't even really have a guess, because I'm not sure what they're going to do right now, but they got to figure it out fast.
I think my guess, they have to go to the NFL. Joe Brady or Brian Dable is my guess.
I was going to say, I heard Dable's name get mentioned a few weeks ago or a couple days ago, and I was like, okay, sure.
I don't buy like I'm sorry to like keep ranting, but
no, go for it.
The directions for these jobs, like, going from NFL to college is a brutal transition, whereas going from college to the NFL is like so much nicer. Like, you have like some semblance of a family life, some semblance of an off season. If you're coming from the NFL to college, get ready for that 365-day grind. It's brutal to keep these kids happy and keep your roster together.
Absolutely. So going to be something to keep an eye on there. But we do have some best bets and predictions to give out here. Time to put our money where our mouth is. John, we closed out the regular season strong. We went 12-4 in Week 14. Let's keep it rolling here. Conference championship weekend, best bets. What do you got coming up here?
All right, best bets. We'll start things off on Friday. Give me Tulane, North Texas, under 67.5. Could very well be wrong on this. I did have a North Texas Friday under, and I think they got it by themselves earlier this year. We'll see. I like North Texas to cover that game, -2.5. Give me the Cougs. Give me BYU plus 12.5. Give me Indiana plus 4.5. Keep it a field goal. I do like the under in that game as well at 47.5. Give me UNLV plus 4.5. And then a little Patriot League for you folks. Give me Lehigh to just take it to Villanova. Lehigh, -4.5.
All right, very good. I like the FCS. I'm going to dabble in the FCS as well. I'll get to that in a minute here. But my bets for this weekend, we're going Western Michigan -2.5 in that MAC championship. We gave this out the other day. Our Broncos, been good to us. Let's keep riding there with them. I'm going to go over 47.5 in Bama and Georgia. Every time that these two teams meet on a neutral field, We've cleared this number. I think that continues. I like both these offenses a lot. I think we're going to get points on Saturday in that SEC game. So let's go over 47.5 there. I'm also laying the 2.5 with the dogs, John. For everything we laid out in that breakdown, I just think Georgia trending up, Alabama trending down. I think you actually get your second win against the Tide here with Kirby Smart this weekend in Atlanta. I'm going to go head-to-head with you. I'm laying the points with Ohio State. -4.5. I just think there's such a gap, and I think ultimately Ohio State's going to be able to land that knockout punch, that haymaker, that chunk play that is going to separate these two teams. I like Ohio State to win this one like 24-14, so I do lean with your under there in that game as well. What else we got here? Virginia -3.5. I've just felt strongly about this the more that I look into this matchup. Like Duke, the defense is terrible. Chandler Morris should have a big game. And then finally, if there's one game you got to watch this weekend, it's 10 o'clock Saturday night.
Look at this.
Respect us.
Saying it with his chest.
URI +5.5 at UC Davis. Second round of the FCS playoffs. I'm screaming into my microphone because I just got to yell, Rody, Rody, Rody. Rams, Rams, Rams. Here we go, URI. Let's keep rolling there. And by the way, if you check out SP Plus, Bill Connolly, he has URI winning this game by a touchdown. So they're getting 5.5. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, very good. All right, I think that's going to do it for us. We hit on a lot there. I mean, what a week of football. Sunday morning might even be more chaotic than what we see on Saturday. Can't wait to talk about it all with you on Monday, John, when we have 24 hours to breathe and digest and get whatever anger out before we come on the air and talk to each other about this. But, man, what a weekend. Best time of the year.
It's going to be the best, dude. I cannot wait for this weekend. And, God, the takes on Sunday will be all time.
They will be flying. And make sure you pay attention to what Hunter Yurachek says, because you might have to just write and transcribe it, because he's going to be all over the place. That I can tell you for sure. But anyways, that's going to do it for us. Conference Championship Preview. For John, I'm Dan. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.